everybody. Can I get a thumbs up if you can hear me, please? I'll make sure my mic is working. Welcome to the Purple Mumble unexpected stream today. Put my glasses off so I can see at a distance a little bit better. Thank you, 9.9, and good to see you here as well, Bob. Yes, thank you for joining me on my unexpected stream today. If you caught my stream yesterday, you would have seen that I had a lot of, yes, very early. Sorry, 9.9. What time is it where you are? Yesterday you would have seen my stream. I had some leftover broccoli along with some other bits and pieces that I have inside my refrigerator and pantry that need to be used up. So yes, we are live. Yes, we're going to be making what I will call toss-it-in soup today. We are still in lockdown here in New Zealand. Unfortunately, with this COVID-19, we've just heard of our second death, which is a very sad occasion. And my heart goes out and condolences go out to the families concerned. We've now got 2 deaths, so yeah, dreadful thing, just dreadful. But all in all, I have decided to take my hat off once again to our wonderful Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. She has really come into her own, and she has led this country to get so far some of the. Oh, I might need to tilt my face cam down a little bit. This one here or this one here? The one that's showing me in the room? There. Is that a little bit better? Okay, so yeah, Jacinda Ardern, our Prime Minister, has done a fantastic job. The one showing your face. Has done a wonderful job leading our country, and she got on top of this COVID-19 threat very, very quickly, shut down our borders almost instantly. The only people now allowed in are either permanent residents or citizens of New Zealand, and those people are now being automatically quarantined for 14 days to try and stop any further COVID-19 coming into the country. So yeah, in the interim, we're all on lockdown. We can't leave home unless we're going for our 1 walk a day, or one person is allowed to go out to the supermarket, which I try to avoid as much as possible. Because obviously there's other people there and the queues are horrendous. I don't want to be in those queues. Queues, aka lines. We call a line a queue, or at least in the UK we do. So I have some leftover broccoli, and I've kind of dug around my refrigerator to see what other bits and pieces I can throw into this. So I've got some broccoli here, I've got a carrot that needs to be used, I've got a couple of sweet potatoes, or kuma as you might call them. I've got half a tub, or a pottle they call it here in New Zealand, of sour cream. I've got some tomato paste or tomato puree. I've got some garlic to use, another potato that's got a couple of eyes in it I want to use up. And these are my weird ingredients I'm going to put in here as well. So we have something out here called Floradix. So it's like an iron supplement. I am always anemic. No matter what it is I do, what it is I eat, I am always anemic. So this bottle, I've finished off the Floradix medicine, if you like, that's inside the bottle. I finished that off this morning, but of course there's always that little dribble that you can't get out. No, my husband is not online. It's very early hours of the morning where he is, and he was not expecting us to be online. So no, he's not, but you know, he may join us later on once he wakes up. So this is Floradix. It's an iron supplement, which I finished this morning, but there was a dribble in the bottom of the bottle, and it's iron. There's good healthy stuff that's inside here. So what I've done is added some cold water to this, and I've shaken it up to get all of those last bits of the bottle out. Last bits of flavour, and I'm going to throw that into the soup. This is toss-it-in soup. That's one I'm going to be making. I had some small packet left over of red lentils inside my pantry as well, so I've soaked these for a couple of hours just to help them to soften a little bit, so they'll cook a little bit faster. So they've just been soaking in cold water. And now for the weird ingredients. Again, this is stuff that I had left over. I don't throw scraps of anything away. Bottom of the cereal packet, that powdery, crummy stuff, that does not get thrown away. That goes into these casseroles. I don't have any at the moment. Otherwise, it would be going in casseroles or soups. Bottom of the cereal packet, What else do I put leftovers from in? Oh, slice of bread at the bottom of the bread bag. That crust, if you don't eat it, in my house it gets blitzed in the blender into breadcrumbs. That could be thrown into here, or frozen and thrown in at a later date. Some other bits and pieces I have left over. I've got a half of a brown onion. I've got half of a red onion. These are from my food bag recipes that I've had left over from the past few days. I have got some mixed herbs, so I'm going to throw those in as well. I've got some nutritional yeast, and I'll explain why I'm going to be putting the nutritional yeast in. I have some quince jelly, which I made quite a while ago. I pulled this out of the freezer to take to a cheese and wine party at a friend's house, which never eventuated because of the lockdown, so I've got that. I've got this. Now, I don't know if you're in America, you probably don't know what this stuff is. If you've heard of Marmite or Promite, Vegemite is very similar as well. This is a jar of Promite that was empty. We'd scraped the jar out and there was nothing left, but there's still a little bit of that flavour that's left behind. So what I've done is I've put hot water inside this jar and I've stirred it around, and I've got all of that flavour saver from the edges of the jar. Scrape that all off, and that's all gone into the liquid that's here. So it's jam-packed full of flavour. And lots of good B vitamins inside there as well. Vitamins, aka vitamins. This is the broccoli. This is kind of what kicked it off yesterday, because I didn't really want to have to freeze these. But this is all good stuff that doesn't need to be thrown away. So yesterday we made a Thai green curry, which was really, really good. And I'm going to be making that again sometime. But I have leftover broccoli from that. And it's mostly the stems and the leaves, if you like. And I don't want to throw it out. This is good stuff. There is nothing wrong with this. And it makes for a wonderful soup. So, we're going to toss it in. I've already washed my hands. Did that before I started the stream. Toss it in a soup. So, when you're tossing it in, it's literally anything, any flavours that you think, oh, that might go nice inside the soup. And you toss it in. Remember, most of these ingredients would probably have been thrown away in most households. So if it comes out tasting awful, it's not the end of the world, because you would have probably thrown the ingredients away anyway. So, but on that note, if you kind of stick to a theme, and I've asked Son, number one son, who's Fluffy Cheeseburger, who is probably going to jump on and off of line whilst I'm streaming. I asked Fluffy Cheeseburger, what sort of soup would you like? Would you like Mexican? Would you like Indian? Would you like Italian? And he said Italian. So that's what we're going to do, is try and focus on flavours that are Italian flavours. And if you have a theme that you can kind of get kicked off on when you're making your soup, Italian, always Italian. So we lived in Italy for 6.5 years. So we do enjoy our Italian food. Fluffy Cheeseburger went to an Italian school. Was fluent in Italian at a very young age, most of which he's now forgotten, I think, but expose him to it and it will come back, I'm sure. So what I'm just doing is cutting these broccoli leaves just into rough sized chunks. I want everything to kind of cook at the same rate, same pace. So when you make chuck it in soup, guess what you do? Chop everything up and chuck it in. Now, I think that this broccoli might take a wee bit longer than most of the other bits and pieces to cook. So, generally when I start a soup off, the first thing that goes in is the onion and garlic. And we just fry that off a little bit. And I'll be doing that with the broccoli in situ as well, just to help soften this off. Empty bag now, so that's going to be recycled. And I shall use that as a rubbish bin liner, trash can liner. So all of these scraps, all edible, can all go into that pan for cooking. Now, one thing I was a bit worried about when I was thinking about, oh, I'll make some broccoli soup up, is I don't really like green soups. you know, and broccoli, when you cook it up like this, tends to get a kind of a greeny, browny tinge to it, or a greyish tinge. And I want to try and avoid getting that tinge in as much as I possibly can. So that's why I've come up with putting some cumin in, some carrots, some red lentils. I've got a tin of tomatoes here with basil in, so again we're working towards those Italian flavours. So I'm sticking with kind of oranges and reds to put into here, so hopefully I can get more of an orange or a red shade or hue to the food. So this is a half of a leftover onion that I have, so we'll just peel that outer papery layer off. There's so often you see people putting messages and notes in, how do I make soup? Well, literally just go through your refrigerator, go through your pantry, see what you have and think, oh, those flavours will be nice together, and put them together. It's really that simple. So after I've cooked this soup up, I'll be putting it into, or I'll be blitzing it, so you can either put it into a food processor or a blender and blitz it down. I've got a little handy thingamajig out in my cupboard in the hallway that I forgot to get out the cupboard in the hallway, but I should go grab that and I should just blitz the soup down with that. It's one of those, you know, stick blender things. So there's the brown onion. And I've got a red onion here as well. Just take the paper off once again. So when you're cooking during the week, just have a think before you take the peelings and the skins of whatever fruit or veg or whatever it is that you're cooking with, before you throw something into the rubbish, you know, the heel from your loaf of your bread, or the crust we call it in the UK, before you throw that away, just think, could I make something with it? Can I cook with it in some way rather than letting it go to waste? Because there's really no harm in half that stuff that people tend to throw away. And you know, there are people starving in this world. We're in lockdown. Needs must. Hopefully people will try a little bit more to create things. It's all trial and error. Hopefully more successful trial than there would be error. And you never know, you might come up with a whole new skill you never realised that you had in making soup. And none of my soups ever taste the same because they literally, stuff just gets thrown in that I have inside the pantry or inside the refrigerator that needs using. So let me get a little bit of cooking oil out of my pantry. And this is just to start that onion and broccoli and get it to a little bit of a caramelization. This is my cloth. Always wipe down your cooking oil bottles before you put them back because you don't want that oily residue in your pantry. So excuse the squeal please when I plug this in. Always screams. And we'll get this started. Now what can I stir this with? Where did I put my wooden spatula? Oh no, that's waiting to be ran for the dishwasher. So let me see what else I've got. Have I got a wooden spoon anywhere? No, we'll use this. No, we won't. Wooden spoon, no wooden spoon. Oh, for a wooden spoon. Oh, turn that heat down, that's a bit high. I wonder where all my wooden spoons have gone. Probably put them somewhere safe. I've forgotten where I've put them. Or used them for something else and they haven't been washed up yet. Let's just use this one, it'll be fine. So literally just want to get a little bit of colour on this onion and just get it to start to lighten a little bit and caramelise. Let's move this in so you can see what's going on here. I'll probably throw that garlic into there as well. As I mentioned earlier, this is all leftover stuff that I had inside my pantry. Turn the heat down on it a little bit. Pop the lid on. Also get my garlic ready. So remember, you top and tail your garlic. And put a little bit of pressure on with the side of your knife. You can get the skins removed pretty easily. Get rid of the skin down the sink. Again, if you have a composter, this can all go into your compost. I'm just going to roughly chop this garlic and pop that in the pan as well, so we can cook down with the onion. You know, actually I want a little bit more garlic than that. I think there's quite a bit of broccoli in there. We are garlic lovers in our family. So I've got some more pre-minced garlic inside my refrigerator. Get this out to set my saucepan lid on. And there's a whole new jar. See how we normally buy our garlic? Very lazy way of doing it. And think of garlic now. So yep, this is stuff soup. I call it stuff soup because when you make it, you're just going to be using the stuff that you have inside your pantry or your refrigerator. I remember when I was a kid, my mum would produce similar sorts of things. I'm sure probably just getting rid of the stuff that was in the fridge or the pantry just to get it used up so nothing went to waste. As kids would say, "Mum, what's for tea? What's for tea?" Tea meaning dinner of the evening. And she'd say, "Shit with egg in." Never sounded particularly appealing, did it? But I tell you what, shit with egg in tastes pretty darn good. But basically it's exactly the same as what I would call stuff. Now, we're going to need to get some liquid into here, and I don't have any stock. Actually, I might have some stock. Let me have a look inside my freezer and see if I still have some stock in here. Oh no, that's applesauce, it's not stock. Don't want to be putting applesauce in this one. What's that? Nope, that's curry for one. No, I don't have any stock in here. I was thinking that I did, but I don't. Now to get everything back inside my freezer again so I can close it. Perfect. So if you've got any stock, then toss that inside. That's going to be your liquid base. I don't have any. I've got some vegetable stock cubes here. This is going to be a vegetarian soup. You could make yours a carnivore soup if you wish. Mine is going to be vegetarian. And this soup is great because what you don't eat, you can sling it into portion sizes into the freezer and have it another day. So I've got a couple of vegetable stock cubes here, OXO cubes. You could use the liquid if you have some of that. Again, we're just using stuff that we've got inside the pantry or inside the refrigerator. And this is going to be a bit of a flavour boost here because the majority of the liquid that's going to go in is going to be just boiling water from the kettle, from the jug. Again, if you have liquid stock, then ideally you'd be using that. I don't, so you know, just toss in whatever it is that you have around. Toss it in soup. And those flavours are starting to develop already, and that smells pretty good. Okay, so this is my Promite. So this is the liquid that I had from that yeast paste that I have. So we'll dump that in. I'll pop my potato in, so I'm just literally going to pick the eyes off of this. That sounds horrible, doesn't it? And cube this up. You see there's a bad bit on the tail end there, so we'll just chop that bad bit off. Because otherwise, this is just going to sit inside the pantry potentially and go rotten, and you know, it's just waste, isn't it? There's enough waste in this world without me adding to it. So I'll just cube this potato up. And that goes straight in as well. Now how hard is this? You know, everything literally into one pot. Very little washing up at the end of it all. Toss it all in together, and as we've worked along through the flavour profiles, we'll give it a wee taste and see what it may be missing. So we'll turn the heat up a little bit now. And I'm going to pop my lentils inside. Let me just strain these off from the water that they've been sitting in. They've just been sitting and soaking in here. Does not look like a good lentil. Black one there. Pop that out in case it's not a healthy one. Right, so we'll dump the lentils into here because they're going to take a wee while to cook through. Along with those ones that think that they can escape. Here's my Thusidix, or my iron supplement water, so that's going in. Throw that away. I've got a carrot here, we'll chop that up. Just going to take the end off of it here. Literally chop it into chunks, throw it in. Keep that lid on as much as possible, help the heat stay inside the pan. I have got a tin of tomatoes, so there's some extra liquid is going to be going on with this. So once again, these are basil tomatoes, or basil if you're in the States. Lots of flavour in there. Now then, as you've noticed before, I don't like to leave the liquid that hangs around the insides of these cans. So look in there, there's still a lot of flavour with that liquid. So if I need to add any more liquid, which would probably be boiling water, I'm going to pour it into that can first and then strain it out from there. I've got a sweet potato, once again, that actually needs a wash. So we'll just pick the eyes off, give it a wee wash. It's actually quite clean. Take the top and the tail off it. Oops, pop the lid back on there. So again, this is a sweet potato, or kumara you might call it. A lot of people peel these. I don't know why. There's so much goodness inside them, much like regular potatoes. Eat that skin. It will not do you any harm whatsoever. Everything into that pot. Now these come in different colours. There's oranges, there's browns, there's reds. So this is a red. The orange tends to be orange on the inside as well, which I'm hoping, well, I was hoping that I had orange ones here, but I don't have reds. That orange will help keep an orange colour to this, or a red colour to this soup instead of it green, but we'll see what comes out as. Yeah, pick the eyes off. Doesn't sound good, does it? All right. Another bit of a stir. I think I can probably turn the heat up on this a little bit. Another couple of lentil escapees here. Get in there where you belong. The least amount of water you can use here, the more hearty your soup will become at the end of it. So I've got another potato here. Another sweet potato again. So please, just because you're seeing the ingredients that I'm popping into my pan here, just go with it. Think of flavours that go together. Bulk your soup out with whatever it is that you have inside your cupboards. You'll laugh at me, but I have in the past actually put Kix inside my soups. And this is back in the day when we had very little money and we were provided for free by the government Kix cereal. Which I didn't particularly like because it was too sweet for me. But that used to end up in lasagnas and casseroles and all kinds of stuff. Not much of it, but it's just enough to help bulk things out. And as much as Kix cereal isn't the most healthy cereal on the supermarket shelves, there was a lot of fortification inside of it, so it was worth not throwing it out and just utilising it in any way that I possibly could come up with. And I put porridge oats and all kinds of stuff inside before. Not that horrible stuff that's pre-packaged. I don't like that stuff where you've got all the flavourings like cinnamon, oatmeal and stuff, which I detest. When I say porridge oats, I mean just raw, rolled or raw split porridge oats. Okay, this is just starting to bubble. Right, I'm going to step aside and go and blow my nose. I shall be back in just a moment. If I can figure out how to get this to mute so you don't have to listen to the sound effects. Okay, and we're back. Oops. I want that in food. Okay, so soup is simmering away there. Salt and pepper, as always, we need to add. I'm not going to use this salt grinder actually. I accidentally just ground black pepper. I didn't want ground black pepper, I wanted black peppercorns. But rather than using my pepper grinder, let's just dump some of that into here. Again, I don't like ground black pepper, I prefer to grind it myself, but hey, it works for the soup. So I'm not going to throw it away, it's always going to get utilised. Pepper into there. And I've got the salt here. This is going to help take out some of the acidity from the tin of tomatoes that we put in. So there's probably about 2 teaspoons of salt there. We'll keep that handy because we may need more later. I've got some mixed herbs, so those are going to be getting dumped in. Okay, it's all Italian flavourings that are going into here. I'm working on that Italian mode. If you were doing a Mexican, you'd come up with the Mexican flavours like cumins and chilies. Indian food, again, more curry flavours would go into there. You have any packet mixes that you want to get rid of, just think about the flavours of the packet mixes that you've got and work around that. And what we're aiming for is a good variety of colours inside of here. So we've got the green of the broccoli, we've got the white from the regular potato, we've got a more of a yellowy orangey colour from the kumara or sweet potato, we've got orange from the carrots, red from the tin tomatoes, we've got red onion in here, we've got some brown onion in here. We're just going to let that simmer away as much as possible, and we'll be slinging this sour cream in. Yep, it's still good. Now then, this is one of the magical ingredients that you're probably going to pull a strange face at. This is nutritional yeast. Now you can buy it either like this, which is in flakes, or you can buy it in its pre-ground or pre-crushed, which looks more like, take the lid off so you can see, more like this. Now this I use a lot for baking, the ground stuff, so I'm going to save that and set it aside. And what I'm going to be using is the flaked stuff today. Now nutritional yeast, if you smell it, it smells just like Parmesan. You kind of like that sickly smell almost. But it's got a cheesy flavour to it, believe it or not. And it's actually, even on its own, it's quite nice. So, it tastes like Parmesan. So I'm hoping that I can get that kind of Italian flavour into my soup here by adding some of that Parmesan flavouring that you get from nutritional yeast. So that's going to be going into there. I'll be putting the sour cream in there. It needs to be used up, but it will give it more of a creamy texture into my soup. And then I've got this quince jelly, and I want to taste the soup before I put this in because this is going to add a lot of sweetness. And generally when I make a soup, I add a tablespoon or 2 of brown sugar or raw sugar. And you'd be surprised at how much flavour you can get, or a flavour, kind of a different flavour profile, contrasting profile, when you put something sweet. A bit like adding salt to a sweet dish. It makes the sweet dish, it gives it a whole new level, a whole new enhancement. Adding something sweet to a savoury dish does a similar sort of thing, so you'll pick up new flavours that you weren't expecting. I have got some tomato paste here that I want to use a little bit of that up. Just stick some of that into here. And literally, this is just simmering away beautifully. So I'll put, a couple of tablespoons, I think, of that in. Perfect. And all of these flavour profiles are just mixing together nicely. Now, I have no idea what this tastes like at the moment. I have a dreadful sense of smell. My sense of smell was taken from me at a young age by my sister, bless her heart, when she had me sniff heavily on smelling salts, and that burnt my olfactory glands. So I really struggle to smell things unless they smell really strongly. So my sense of smell works through my nose. Oh, lovely cup of tea. My sense of smell works through my nose, so I tend to pick up flavors of scents versus the smell of something. If something smells really, really strongly and it's really, really foul, then I can, there you go, nutritional yeast has a strong flavor that is described as nutty or cheesy, which makes it popular as an ingredient in cheese substitutes. It's often used by vegans in place of cheese. Correct, there you go. I was right, yay. So yeah, I can pick up some smells. If a smell was to make your eyes water because it's so strong, that's generally when I can get a smell. So most people would be running away and screaming. I'm like, oh yeah, that smells like vomit, or that smells like a dirty nappy. That's when it's that strong, I can taste that smell. Kind of gross, huh? So I'm just going to turn the heat down on this a little bit because it's bubbling quite fiercely then. It doesn't need to be quite that fierce. And I will probably use, get this open and I'll put a little bit of that nutritional yeast in that. If you have a look at this, it comes in like a lump. So this is the flaked nutritional yeast. And I'm just going to drop, probably about 2 tablespoons of that into there. And that's to give it that cheesy undertone. There's a big wedge of it there. I'll break that in. And this will dissolve as it's cooking, so I'm not too worried about that being finely broken up into there. And hence why I was saving the other one that's already been crushed for my regular baking that I do. I won't put this back in the pantry yet in case I want some more cheese flavour. And when you're done with your cook as well, if you wanted to add more of that cheesiness to it, you can sprinkle some of that nutritional yeast on top of your dish that you've made, and it's perfectly fine. You can eat it, it's not a problem. Again, it gives that cheesy flavour that you might want to add. Try and keep your work surfaces clean as you're cooking. Hi Scott, welcome aboard. Good to see you here. Thank you for joining me. We're making toss-it-in soup. Toss-it-in soup is exactly as it sounds. There's no recipe for this. You literally figure it out as you're going along. I've got all kinds of stuff in here. I've got, oh, thank you very much for the gift. I do appreciate that, 9.9. Inside my soup today, I have got carrots, I have got sweet potatoes, I've got normal white potatoes, I've got red onions, brown onions, tinned tomatoes, nutritional yeast, broccoli stems and leaves. The broccoli we used in a meal last night. Did I say nutritional yeast already? Tinned tomatoes we've got into here. So we're trying to bring this on a Italian feel. So I asked number one son, what kind of flavour soup do you want for this toss-it-in soup? And he said Italian. So we're trying to work on Italian flavours here. Literally everything has just been dumped into the pan. There's a couple of vegetable stock cubes into here as well. And we're just cooking it all down and through. I was a little bit worried that this was going to take on a green hue from the broccoli that's in here, but it hasn't, which is wonderful. That makes me very happy. So all we're really looking, red onion, I did say red onion and brown onion, didn't I? I don't know what it is I've said now. All kinds of things get tossed into here. So yesterday's recipe, we had edamame beans, which I think is a raw soybean. But I've never had, lentils, there's red lentils in here. I see them moving to the top as I'm stirring it around. And those lentils I did soak in some boiling water for a short while, a couple of hours. You don't have to, but it just helps them to cook a little bit quicker. So we had edamame beans in a recipe that we cooked yesterday, and I've never had them before, but just raw, they were really nice. So I was having a look at my online shopping, because we're not actually standing in line at the supermarket here in New Zealand at the moment. If we can avoid it, we prefer to order what we want online and literally swing by the supermarket, go to the front of the line, get in there, pick it up and walk out again. Just add a little bit more water to this. And I found, as I was doing my online shopping, I found edamame beans, and oh, I'm so excited. Oh, you and your wife are lurking. Oh, you're mesmerised. What are you mesmerised by? Come on now, it's easy to make a soup. You just toss it all in there. Whilst this is simmering, I'm just going to nip out to my hallway, to my store cupboard, and grab my hand blitzer, because we're not far from being ready to blitz this. So I'm not sure if my microphone will keep working. Let me grab what I need to get here, so we can blitz. Show you what the soup is going to look like when it's all said and done. As I've mentioned before, I generally add something sweet. Oh yes, rinse the tomato can. Oh, I cleanly forgotten it sat there and I've just added more water. I'll tell you what, I'm going to do that now, because I don't want it to go to waste. Nothing goes to waste. Get the strangest meals. This is my blitzer. I'll show you that. All kinds of different attachments go onto this. This is a Kenwood brand, and there's all kinds of things that you can put on the end. This is the Killer Blade. Look at that. Do not get your fingers near that, because when that's spinning, it will take your fingers clean off. Right, let's rinse that tin out. Get all that flavour off the side. This is what happens when I'm talking and streaming and cooking at the same time. I forget things. I clean missed off rinsing my tin out. Right, so just by stirring that tiny little bit of water around in there, you can see that I've already picked up quite a bit of flavour that was stuck to the edges of this can. So that can go in. Nothing goes to waste. So we'll rinse the rest of that out, and the can can go into recycling or tin, depending upon where you live. Oh, and the cat is just, you know what, I fed him just before I started streaming, and he's now in here asking for more food. Like a bottomless pit. So as I mentioned before, I generally add a little bit of something sweeter. Brown sugar into a soup, because it gives a whole different flavour profile. I've got some quince jelly here, which I made, probably coming up on a year ago. And I'd taken it out of my freezer because I was supposed to be going to a wine and cheese party at a friend's house, and then we had lockdown, so that didn't happen. So I'm not certain that it's still going to be good, but I wanted to taste the soup before I decide whether or not I'm going to put this in. So when I make this jelly, I tend to, because it's only got a slight jelly texture, the minute it starts to warm up, it's quite runny still. So I tend to freeze it in little silicone cupcake cases, just like a couple of tablespoons worth. So you don't really need much when you eat it. And then just individually wrap it in cling film, and it keeps forever inside your freezer, but not necessarily forever inside your fridge. So it certainly looks okay. Let's have a little taste. Oh yeah, that's fine. Absolutely fine. In fact, I think it's going to add a nice flavour to this. Alright, let's see how we're doing flavour-wise. So literally, we're just cooking these vegetables until they're softened. Once they're softened enough to be blitzed, then the meal is going to be good to go, as long as my lentils are soft as well. So and this is going to be going into the freezer. We already have leftovers for dinner for tonight. I'm just wanting to get all of my vegetables before they start turning and going to waste, get them used up. And today we have wonderful sunshine outside, so I'm able to use the solar energy to run my little induction hob here for free. The forecast for the rest of this weekend, especially Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, is just horrendous. So I wanted to get this all cooked up whilst I've got the free electricity as well. So happy Easter to everybody. I hope you're all going to remain within your bubbles and not go around potentially either picking up or spreading COVID-19. Very scary time in the world for us at the moment, but we have been assured by Jacinda Ardern, our Prime Minister, that the Easter Bunny will still be visiting this year, so that's the wonder of magic for you. Let's have a wee taste of this. Oh, that's nice. It's quite tomatoey. I think we're going to add a little bit more nutritional yeast. Definitely going to be adding this quince jelly and the sour cream, so we'll pop all of those in now. Again, this is all stuff that was sat inside my refrigerator. Nothing pulled out of the freezer to go into here in particular. If I'd had some vegetable stock or chicken stock or whatever inside my freezer, I'd have probably dumped that in here as well, but I didn't, so I used a couple of vegetable stock cubes. If you don't have those, you can just, get the soy sauce out, and if you're using soy sauce, obviously be very careful if you put any salt in. Soy sauce is very high in salt. I'm just going to slice this quince jelly into here. Well, actually, that'll dissolve down nicely, no trouble, I'm sure. So the quince jelly is going to add the sweetness that I was looking for. I'm just waiting for these vegetables to soften, and then we can get it all blitzed, or blended, or pureed, whatever it is you want to call it. And if you don't have a blitzer, don't worry about it. Get your potato masher out. It'll do just as good of a job. Or potato ricer, if you have a potato ricer. Run your vegetables through that. Or you could have it like this if you want your soup nice and chunky. So this is going to be going into the freezer. And we'll have this another day when I'm running out of ideas of what to make for the food that's inside the pantry. Alright, pop the lid back on that and let it go for a wee while longer. So what have you guys been up to? Oh, welcome back, Bob. Yes, did you pop away and then come back again? I'm sorry, I hadn't been reading this stream particularly closely. Oh, sit down and finish my cup of tea whilst I'm waiting for that to cook. So it's 2:30 in the afternoon where we are. Beautiful day outside, just gorgeous, but we're bracing for impact of a storm that's on our way. And that spoon can go in the sink. Right. Licked that earlier on. Nutritional yeast, I want to add more of that. So again, this nutritional yeast will add a cheese flavour to the soup, which will help us on that Italian pathway that we're trying to take. So I'm going to add a good couple of tablespoons on top of what I've already added, which was a couple of tablespoons, so and that will be plenty. So if you want to see exactly how we, or how I came up with this recipe, which isn't really a recipe, it's just a chuck it in kind of a deal, and you'll see I just kind of like, oh, I could sling some of this in, oh, I could sling some of that in. Toss it in soup is what we're making. And again, please check out the video. It'll be available at the end of this stream, hopefully, if I can figure out how to do it. I don't have husband lurking today, so maybe number one son, Fluffy Cheeseburger, will do that for me if there's something that needs to be done. But please have a watch through the stream and just come up with some ideas of your own. This is literally stuff gets thrown into a pan. and we just see how it goes. Work your flavor profile, have a taste as you're going along. Never add more of something than you think you may need. Always add less. You can always add more later, but you can't take it out if you put too much in. And many a good soup has been ruined by a overzealous wrist as you're tipping in way more of a flavor than you should have done. And this is all wholesome goodness in here. Sour cream is possibly the only thing that you could say wasn't good for you, but nutritional yeast, the vegetables that we've got inside of there. Tomatoes, we've got broccoli, we've got onions, we've got lentils inside of there. So it's a good, wholesome meal that you can make out of this. And you can have it over bread. You could make it up like this and put some dumplings in. A great way of making a soup more exciting, especially for kids, is if you get flour tortillas, you know, the big flat ones that you make burritos out of, or I don't know if you do enchiladas, yes, that you make enchiladas out of, those big flat flour floppy tortillas. Well, I think you can get corn ones as well. If you cut those into strips and then again cut the other direction, so you make these cubes of maybe 1 inch or 2.5, 3 centimeter squares. If you throw those on top of a pan that's like this, that's bubbling away with a soup or a casserole inside, they soften and they swell just a little bit, so it makes kind of a dumpling texture, and that's really a delicious way to have your soup. The cat is sat down here at my feet. You're not going to be fed again, Pants. Off you go. No, you've already eaten. Go on. Go on. Off somewhere else. Come on, you don't need to be in my kitchen. Go on. Shoo. No, off you go. Yes, I know you want to eat, but you've just eaten. Thank you. Stay. Don't you come past there. You stay there. Naughty cat. He knows better than to meander into here. Let this cook down just a little bit more. I want to get those vegetables nice and soft. I think the worst part of this stream is going to be when I go to blitz this, because I have a strong feeling that it's just going to go everywhere. This is the largest pan I have that will work on this induction hob, other than a massive crock pot that I've got, which I think is too big. It'd probably melt the plastics on the edges if I was to cook with that. So now Pants has had plenty of food today. This is the cat that gets fed on demand whenever he wants it, because he keeps losing weight. He's an old cat that's we've spoken to the vet, and we think something fatal is going on, and he's not in any pain at all, but the vet has said, oh, just if he's hungry, just feed him. So he gets fed 6 or 7, sometimes 8 times a day. I need to cook for just a little bit longer, I think. And literally right before I started this stream, I fed him. So he has no call to be in here screaming his head off for yet more food. I think another 5 minutes cooking there and we should be good to go. Try and keep the lid on. So great thing to make. Very few dishes are made here. Nice simple clean up. And if you've got a bowl of hot soapy water as I have here, it's very easy to clean up as you go along. That can go into recycling. This is when it's going to get messy. When I start using this, I'm really scared that it's going to go all over number one son's laptop. I'm going to have to move it to the other end of the kitchen as much as I can so we don't make too much of a mess. We do have a wee bit of a problem with the food for Pants at the moment. His diet has been a half adult meat, canned meat, and a half kitten canned meat. We were just trying to give him the kitten calories, but that wasn't sustaining him for long enough, so we've had to mix it with the adult calories. So he gets half and half. Well, we've just run out of kitten food, and we're not going to be getting more until we pick up our supermarket shop tomorrow lunchtime, so he's having to survive on adult meat, or adult cat meat, and he's not particularly happy about it. We've also run out of biscuits, which is what the younger cat has. So we're quickly running out of cat food inside this house. So if I wake up in the morning to find a cat gnawing on my arm, I'll understand why, and perhaps be a little bit more on the ball when it comes to shopping for the cat groceries. I swear I spend more on the cat food every week than I do on groceries for Son and I. Stuff is splattered everywhere already. I haven't even stuck the stick blender in there yet. I'll put that salt away because I know it doesn't need any more salt. It's been salted enough. Better get a spoon out as well, so number one son can have a taste of this. If you'll want a larger spoon. Right, what do you think? Should we try blitzing it? Are you feeling brave? I probably ought to put some long sleeves on in case it splatters up my arms in its scaldingness. Yep, we're going to go in and be brave. Let's switch that off. Move over to the blender. Pop this onto here so it's a lower height because I'm a little short and I can't reach above. Move this out of the way. So again, this soup can be served with bread, or you can put dumplings into it. Clean up my bench just a little bit before I make more mess. I didn't think the sun was going to be quite as bright as it is today, so it's great that I've been able to get this made and put away. So this is the stick blender that I'm going to be using. You'll see that it's quite, you don't want to get your finger caught in there. So, actually I need something to sit that pan lid on rather than putting it straight onto my bench. Put it onto this older looking mat rather than spoiling my nice one. Still bubbling away in there, it shows just how hot it was. Alright, let's give it a wee squirt. I think I'm just going to have to go up and down with it a few times. It's going to be a pretty thick soup. I'm just trying to capture these chunky vegetables underneath the blades as I'm pressing down. There's a high risk of me making a terrific mess here. A deeper pan, I could just go to town. The smell of this is just delicious. Does look good, doesn't it? Now you don't have to blitz your soup, as I mentioned before. If you want to have it chunky, that's absolutely fine. You can do that. If your soup is too runny, you can get a little bit of corn flour or cornstarch, mix it with a little bit of milk or water, and bring that to a gentle boil and simmer. Add that in. Mix the water into the corn flour, so I'd probably get a couple of tablespoons of corn flour, cornstarch, same thing. And just add enough water until you get it mixed up into a runny puddle. Add half of it into your saucepan, let it simmer. It will start to thicken. If you need more, then pour more in. Okay, so that's worked pretty well. I was really worried that we were going to end up with a green soup, a green broccoli soup, which I think number one son would have probably turned his nose up at. So hopefully he'll enjoy the flavour profile of this. I'm just going to leave that standing there. And I will take it out, just in case these bearings are made of plastic and then melt. Right, let's see how much number one son is lurking and see if he's going to come and try some of this, if he's even listening to me. Right, I'll go grab him because I think he's in the other room not paying attention, so let's see how we go here. Here he comes. Let's see what he thinks of this. This isn't for dinner tonight, number one son. This is for another time. Most of this is probably going to go into the freezer, or I might have this tomorrow night for dinner. This is really, really hot though, so lots of blowing is required. I'll turn my camera around so we can get the room view and see what's going on. See what kind of a face he pulls. Now, number one son always gives his honest opinion. This is my Italian broccoli-based soup. There's sweet potato in there. Onions. You really get the tomato come through.
That's nice.
It's nice?
Yeah.
You actually like it?
Yeah.
What score does it get?
8.
8.
Yeah.
He ate it. He gave it an 8. That's a...
I like the tomato that comes through with that.
How do I do it? Like, 8. He likes the flavour of the tomato that's coming through, so that's good.
And the basil.
Basil?
The basil.
The basil. Tomato and basil. 8 out of 10. Yep, I think we've done good. I'd probably give it an 8, maybe a 9, but probably an 8. This would be really nice with some croutons. When I make croutons, I don't fry them. Basically, I get my bread, often the crust, toast it, cut it into cubes. Those are my croutons. Nice and easy to make, and you are boiling that added oil that you don't need. So, Bob, yes, you can have some if you make some. So give it a go. Literally, please just go through your refrigerator. He likes it. I know, what a shock. Go through your refrigerator, throw stuff together, see what you can come up with. Let me just holler out to number one son, because I would like to be able to pop a raid through if I can, but I tend to get this very wrong, so I might need to get his assistance on this. So let me just drag him aside for 1 second. But please just go through your refrigerator and see what you've got that you can use up. Have a look inside your pantry. Would you be able to give me a hand just to get a raid going? Just come watch me, make sure I'm doing it properly. Thank you. Go through your refrigerator. Don't throw your vegetables out. If something starts to look a little bit like it's starting to go a bit soggy, or your veggies are looking a bit tired or a little bit worn out, make some of this, Oh, sorry, he's got people waiting on him. So we are going to do a raid here. Actually, I'm going to let number one son do this because I know he's keen to step off and do some work. Miss Molly is online. We love Miss Molly. She is awesome. So let's raid Miss Molly. If everybody can say hi, give Miss Molly a wave, give her a shout out. That would be wonderful. Thank you for joining me today, very unexpectedly. It's been wonderful to have you all on board, and we'll make our way over to Miss Molly and